Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on Gypsy Jazz Bootcamp. It's for Sephora. Let's get started. Welcome to the club here, the Tuesday night Gypsy Jazz Bootcamp Club. Hi. Learning the melody alone is a great exercise. Just that, if you just were to learn and work on the tune and the phrasing. And I went so far this time, I don't always, but even the articulation, especially the articulation, the hammer-ons, the sliding, the pull-offs, those little trills, a la Stochelo Rosenberg, of course, you know, just those are the small things. You don't get that if, I had it here, but like if you're just to look at the lead sheet of it, you don't, you know, that it doesn't show all that. So that's why with this, I wanted to be a little bit more specific with the articulation, sliding, hammer-on pull-offs, when to slur, when to pull off, when to slide it, and just small things again, and even vibrato. I even wrote when he does his vibrato because I think that's all so important in the gypsy jazz element. So in the style versus just playing it like, you know, but again, you can add your own style and your own taste, but it makes a great study, just like you're working on a transcription. Okay, I think we should just get started here. Briefly talk about the Gypsy Jazz Bossa Style. It's not like your Brazilian jazz style, which it's definitely, there's an influence of it, but in the Brazilian jazz, you might have something like this. But in the gypsy style, you're gonna do this. And your chord voice. So, and I'm going to talk about some chord voicings here, minor 9. But when you watch that, minor 7 like this, minor 7 with the 6, there's all these different voicings. And then, of course, at the intro, there's... that cool chord there, which I just learned today from watching him. Usually I'm doing Stochelo Rosenberg's part, which is... And this is my interpretation. I mean, I did actually tab it out to what he's doing minus the bass notes, because his thumb is kind of sporadic, so I took out the bass notes, but you'll kind of hear that pattern. We'll talk about that in a second. So in that case, it's kind of like the Brazilian jazz, where it is finger style, but the gypsy part of it is using the pick and going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with this little backbeat, not little, but an emphasis on beats 2 and 4. So if that's new to you, you definitely want to get that rhythm. 1 and 3 and 1 and then you want to lift up your fingers on 2, right when you do the click on 2 and 4. I'm just on the E minor bar chord. You know, it doesn't always have to be really jazzy, colorful chords, just simple triads and 7s. So, because I know we've been focusing a lot on just swing. This is on an E minor bar chord, 1 and click, and 3 and click, and 1 and click. So it's in 4/4 time, and there's a click on 2 and 4, and that's when you want to lift up off the fretboard. Off the fretboard, but still, I always say, still maintain contact with the string. You don't have to be extreme like this and lift up, but just touch the strings and just deaden them. But I actually like to add a little right hand click too. And this is all 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and you just want to keep that solid all the way through. I'll load it up in a second. I'm just kind of showing you. You can get cooking on it. It's really fun. And 3 and 1 and 3 and it's a great groove. And I would say just don't be too fancy. Get that groove down. Play along with the recording. Get the basic chord shapes. So that's the thing I want to talk about. I wrote some on the version that we're going to look at right now. I wrote some really basic chord shapes. I mean, I call them basic. Kind of talk be a little bit more general with it. We're not going to do exactly what he's doing. But I'm going to show you the options. So let's start here with this little intro. It's very, very unique and very cool here. Beautiful intro that Stochelo is playing here. And I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger here. And if you're new to Sound Slice, which I think all of you are using, you can work with this video. But I just want to show you the idea of it here. We've got this E minor 9 chord. Beautiful chord here. And again, we're going fancy, that we're going what Stochelo's doing. You can watch what Nooch is doing over here. And I'll even show you that too, but that's separate. That's on the other video with the chord grids. But here's what Stochelo is doing. So it's really beautiful. E minor 9. And you can look at the tabs or the chord grid above. They're both the same for this video. 1, 2, 3, and. Lot of syncopation. 1, 2, 3, and. And that's all on the offbeats. That's again the Brazilian influence, the heavy use of syncopation. This chord here is E minor, major 7. So I want to show you something here. Here's E minor triad. This might be new for you, but it's actually the next one here. I just show you. Play this shape here. This might be new for you. Now I want to show you something that you can also just play the same 3 notes, well, with the bass note 4 notes, but you can just do it like this. But this way, we can add the 9 on. This is why I want to show it to you. We can add the 9 on here. But if you don't want to do this stretch, then I recommend that you do it here. Isn't that easy? I mean, I could write that as a simplified version, but I'm writing to what Stochelo is doing. This is the same as this. Okay, here's E minor triad. Here's E minor with a 9 added on. And that's called E minor add 9. I wrote E minor 9, but the technical name is add 9. I'll have to fix that. 1, 2, 3, and. Now the problem is, now you quickly have to go over here. And that's why it's just better to start here if you can. And now it's going to be the same pattern for that E minor triad. And this is a tough shape to get right here, E minor 6. I'm going to point to the cursor where I'm at, this shape here. And I'm pretending like this is new for you. I think this is new for everybody except for Keith maybe. But this shape here, it's tricky. It's a stretch. I'll say it that way. Okay, E minor 6. So what we're doing here, I'm going to show you the theory. Is we're taking the triad. We are going down to the major 7. One more minor 7, but that's not what we want. We want the 6, and now we have to add the other notes back on. And then not only that, Stochelo then adds on that high A on top to get the 11. Very kind of modern. And that's what he's doing there. So it's 1, 2, 3, and. 1, 2, 3, and then he thumps out the bass here, boom, boom, 4, and that's just a low E. And you could just practice this over and over. And you can, by the way, I'm going to show you something here. If you don't want to use a video, I would use synthetic mode. Again, if this is new for you on Sound Slice, you could go to synthetic mode. The video's now gone, but you can now practice it to just you can just loop that. You know, it's actually on repeat, so you don't have to mess with it. But 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. And then he goes up high. So he does that figure twice. Again, I'm not going to spend the whole lesson just on that. That it kind of suggested, but it's stated. Da, 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 da. That voice leading. The 9. Da, 7 on the E minor, da, then the root, da, to the 6, da, if I could get that, and then da. So again, that's what you kind of want to bring out, finger style. Okay, and then this. And I did not do the boom boom, but you can add the bass note in, or you can omit the bass notes. Those are, again, optional. And this is all just an intro, but it's also the outro. So now we're gonna go up here. E minor, major 7. Again, the theory is you take this, I call it a chromatic cliche. You go in the octave or the root, major 7, minor 7 to the minor 6. And that's what the labeling here is. That's a 12th fret way up here. And 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2. So again, it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and he doesn't do it that many times. I'm just talking about getting the feel of it. Use that synthetic mode here so that you can hear it. Put the click track on. And then the melody. Which again, we're gonna just work through that beautiful melody. But are there any questions with that intro? Again, they're gonna do that also as an outro at the end of the song, but it's just, it's not all the way through. It's just actually this part, half of it, just as he goes right into this part here and doesn't do this part of it, the first 4 bars. And that's just all kind of an E minor, you know, creating a mood, creating the feel. That's what an intro should do. It should kind of just create the groove and the ultimate feel of the song. That's a good intro right there. Okay, now we have the theme with these pickup notes here. 1, 2, 3. Let's talk chord progression. I'm just gonna tell it to you basically what it is. It's a song that I hope you all know. Who knows what song I'm gonna say? Anybody recognize this song? Well, if I did it in the key of E minor, let's see. Right here, chords. E minor, A minor, B7, E minor. And that's all. He's just doing the first 8 bars of minor swing as a bossa, but in the key of E minor instead of A minor. So that's what it does here. That 1 E minor goes to E7, and that's now going to take you to A minor. And it does. It's kind of classical theory here. The secondary dominant, the 5 of the 4. However, this is now the B section, and what happens here, A minor 7, D7, G major 7, C major 7, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7, E minor, E7. Reminds me of this song. right? 1, 2. 1, 2. You're going to learn some really beautiful Gypsy Jazz style phrasing here just by studying this melody. That C major 7 was... it starts with these pickup notes as an E minor phrase. What I recommend is that you visualize this E minor bar chord. And go 1, 2, 3. Okay, like I'm holding the chord, like it's like an A minor shape down here, but it's here. So it's 1, 2, 3. And dig in there. You can do all downstroke. And by the way, you don't have to use the fingering like you're holding a chord. You can go 1, 2, 3. And that's what this means here. Hammer on, pull off. You want that. You want that. But not only that, I'm stressing the timing. You have to come in on the and of 3. Try not to miss it. That's why you should go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then a nice vibrato. I think his vibrato is more like that. It's almost like B.B. King. Like you're playing Lucille. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then he goes down the same E minor. Just like, again, it's like an E minor arpeggio. But I have to tell you, this note that he's leaning on, that colorful note, that's the F sharp, the minor 9 chord. I said that incorrectly. It's not a minor 9 interval. It's the 9th degree, the F sharp. So that's a beautiful note to lean on. Target that note. It's very moody. 1 and 2 and 3. And then write down the E minor triad. So yeah, there's a lot of string crossing. Try to work on accuracy. And notice the phrasing of this. I'm going to walk you through this. Like I said, it's and 4 and 1. So it's very symmetrical. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 1. And 4 and 1. Okay? That's the, you got to get those pickup notes. 1, 2, 3. And 4 and 1. And then right here, guess what? That's the 9 also, but an octave lower. And he's hammering on. Okay? You can watch how he articulates that. And then this beautiful little slur here, very much in the Gypsy Jazz style, on the and of 3, 2, 3. 2, 3. Only strike it once. Hammer, pull, slide. So it's on the and of 3, and you want to get to this note on the and of 4. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. You can 2, 3. That would be the proper gypsy style picking, the rest stroke. 1, 2, 3. And I'm using all downstrokes. 1, 2, 3. Because the 8th note would be this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. Okay, so once you get to that note, that's not the important note. The E is there. So it's just a decoration around the E. Okay? Those are the ornamentation, decorations. I call them embellishments, like this. Okay, we're just decorating. It's so beautiful. You know, hear that? That sounds like Mozart's Rondo a la Turque. You know, it's a technique that's used quite a lot for embellishing around a note. So we have 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, and then right here, I should have actually written a slide into this note if I wanted to be correct. But now it's a quarter note triplet. It's da, 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 da. Da. I'll do that again. 4. 1, 2, 3, so far we have this 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2. Oh, this is where he comes in early. I got fooled right there too. You know, you would expect it to be on the and of 3, like he had done for these phrases, but now it's early. It's on the and of 2. 1, 2. Okay, and that's an A minor. Oh, I didn't talk about this phrase here. This was a decoration around the E, and that's the 9 of A. That's A minor 9. Very moody. These are the notes you want to target when you're soloing, because it's just a beautiful color. Some of you were with me last term. We did that on Claire de Lune. I was saying target the 9. You know, that's such a, on a ballad, you have time to just lean on those notes. Okay, even if you don't get exactly the articulation, just approximate it. Just get, you know, dig in there. This is a beautiful arpeggio. So again, that was a 9, and then you have this beautiful phrase here where it goes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not talk about this? This is almost like a mirror image decoration embellishment around the root of A. Above it, a whole step above, and a half step below. Again, many of you know that that's one of the common embellishments. Half step below always, but the note above, if it's a minor chord, you want to do a whole step above, generally speaking. Unless it's on the 5th degree, then you might want to do the flat 6. Okay, so now this beautiful arpeggio here is an A minor, add 9 with the 6. Try this with me here. I'm going to point the cursor right where I'm at here. And you can look at the tabs or the notes. It's A, B, C. That's 1, 2, flat 3. Or 1, 9. You call it a 9. 1, 2, flat 3. 5, 6. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful color again. You hold it as a chord. But then he goes to the D sharp here, which is the 3rd of the B7, of course. It's very classical style composing. And then this diminished 7 arpeggio on the and of 2 again. Fully dim 7 on the B7. So that's basically like a C diminished 7. The C's on the top, the flat 9. So it's 1, 2. Again, 1, 2. And then just strike the chord, okay, if you can. Okay. And then on this B7 chord, this lick, he does a slide like this. Okay. Very subtle. Let's listen to him phrase it. Whoa. You can't see him, but you can hear the slide. I'll do that again from back here. I'll slow it down a little bit as well. But this is a type of, what word do I always use? Active listening. You know, try to listen to those small details. That's very important. And that was a beautiful lick to turn this around. And that's it. You have the A section down. And it goes, I'll do it slowly. 1, and by the way, I have to look myself. It's on the and of 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. And then it goes right back up like the beginning, 2, 3. So that's this part right here. Do, 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 do. And that, of course, leads us back to that slur. So this lick here, the turnaround lick, is very important. This is a beautiful, dominant lick. You can use this on minor swing, of course. You can use it on dark eyes. And so the idea is, the concept of what he's doing here, I'm giving you a little breakdown here. This was a B7 arpeggio, flat 9 arpeggio with that D note added on. And that D note, if you're thinking of it as B7, it's this chord. sharp 9. I could have done it over here, Purple Haze style, but I'm going, and then you have, and then to E minor. So it's that, if you're wondering, what note is that? That beautiful, that 10th fret, the D here, against the B, that's actually like a sharp 9. And then it goes to the 5. And then this lick here is kind of anticipated. This phrase here is really belonging to the B7. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And that's it. Then that's the A section. And let's check it out from there. I'm just going to let it play. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And we're going to listen to the A section. You guys can play along if you want. I don't know if you can hear it well enough, but I'm just going to push play. And it repeats. And then it's a different phrase here to lead us. Again, these are very important phrases, these turnaround phrases. I love these ones, so I always circle these and say, you know, learn these. They're kind of like lead-in licks. They help the listener pull you to the next section. These are the licks that I like to steal. So again, that A section is just done exactly twice. You know? If I was on electric guitar, I'd probably do that. But that was nice, yeah. The half step bend. It's more of a rock technique.
No, what does he do? Is he doing actually? Okay.
It's not even, and then you want a vibrato. You know, okay. So you. And again, you want to practice it from these pickup notes right here. These 3 notes. You always want to get 1, 2, 3. You know, you want to get those entrants. You don't want to start right here. You want to get the 1, you know, 1, 2, 3. Just like those notes. See these 3 notes? And 4 and 1. Practice those pickup notes. 2, 3. Okay. And then those things. Just make this a study to where you do try to get these details. So again, it's a duplicate, 2 A sections, right? And then this phrase. I do want you to get this phrase, the turnaround phrase to the A minor. Make sure you hit that G sharp. That's the leading tone. That's the 3rd of E7. It's like a C major 7 against the A minor, which is a A minor 9 if you play C major 7. But he's going like this. Okay. So here it is from here on the and a 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. You could just do it all in one position. But it sounds like he's going. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And that's the quick pull off. And then strike the 7th fret. Let's watch it. Look at this. We can watch him slow motion right here. Again, if you want to get into these. And he's down picking everything. Yeah, right there. That quick slide. And that one, that actually okay, now I'm getting technical. It was da 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 dum. It wasn't da da da. It was da 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 dum. So we could get super technical about it, or or not. But again, by doing this process, you learn a lot. So it's more like the eighth note was actually up front, and then the 2/16. And yeah, I'm probably going to want to fix that later after this lesson. So instead of going da-da-da, it was da-da-da-da. 1, 2. Oh, then here, we're going to notice this. He does a slide. I mean, this is what today's lesson is all about, articulation. But check it out. And then watch him right here, the slide. There. 1, 2, 3. And notice the rhythm. 1, 2. And that was a 16th note there. Da 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 dum. And I'm right here just demonstrating the slide. It's all under a slur, but it is slide. Duh. Only pick it once is what I'm saying. 1, 2. Okay, it's easier to do it faster instead of slowing down the rhythms, actually. Okay, and a nice vibrato. And then this beautiful phrase here on the C major. Oh, I'm not even talking about targeting. I gotta tell you what he's doing. He's targeting the thirds. The thirds are so melodic. Just like Autumn Leaves. But he's here. And then, fancy. Third. That was a third of G. And then the third of E, C. Actually, no, that's just a phrase here. Run. So that's what he's doing there. If you're trying to create an ultra melodic lyrical solo, learn to target those thirds, land on the thirds, let it ring. But you could do fancy stuff to get the listener there. That's where you learn these beautiful phrases. This is a great lick here. 1, 2. I'm checking out to make sure I wrote it right. 1, 2. And I'm thinking like, feeling this 1 and 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then these quarter note triplets. Da, 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 da. Da, that quarter note triplets are used quite a bit in Latin jazz, Latin music. It just has this beautiful tension, da, the syncopation, da, 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 da. And it's just all the shape. Those are double stops, those are thirds, very, very melodic. Let's watch him do those thirds. Same lick again that he did to lead us into that B section on the end of 2, this phrase right here. And 1, 2. 1, 2. So again, really similar phrasing. You're going to learn some really beautiful Gypsy Jazz style phrasing here just by studying this melody. That was the same, but this time he changed his phrase. I'm just going to walk you through this last phrase. Right here on this G note here, it's like I'm thinking this is like he's hanging on the sharp 5 of a B7. Like it's just all B7 chord, not even worrying about the F sharp half dim. Because it created a flat 9. Which is interesting, dark color. Again, notice the timing, and 4 and. So you could go 1, 2, 3. And I stopped right here. I went daliada with a slur. Notice a half step that time. Dark. So I'm starting right here on the slur. And I think he actually does a different note here. I think it goes to the 7th fret here. And I'll leave it. This is what it usually is, but he changed it this time. He's even adding a lot of vibrato. And then he does a quick little diminished chord. B7 flat 9, which of course, that's where we want to throw in that diminished flavor. This is kind of like really, classic gypsy jazz sounding phrasing. Yeah, no, it's B7 flat 9. And then he's off into solos, so we pretty much covered that whole melody here. Any questions on that at all? A/C sharp. And that's hard to grab. I would not do that live. I wouldn't be able to grab it personally. What I would do instead is C sharp minor 7 flat 5, which is E minor 6 for you theory people. E minor 6 equals C sharp half dim. But he's going C sharp, A major with his C sharp in the bass. So it's like an A7 chord essentially, like a 2-5, E minor to A7, okay? And that's kind of like E minor 6, even though Stochelo is doing this. It all works together beautifully. So again, that's a very special chord, but don't hurt yourself doing that one. If I were to do his part, I would start off and do, and just do this. That was just C sharp half dim, which is E minor 6. It's just a nice easy shape to get. But instead of this, but check him out. I mean, the fact that he can get that so accurate every time is beautiful. Right here. And then that's where the theme starts. So he kind of cut it in half for the excerpt here. But then check out these voicings here. I mean, you don't have to do it right now, obviously, but some special voicings. I was surprised to see some of these. Like that one, that was the E minor 6 on top. This. It's like playing an E minor 7 bar chord, but adding in the 6. So technically you have to call that E minor 13 because it has a 7 in there. So that's why it has that funny name of E minor 13 there. If you're wanting to watch, but he's going E minor 7, and then you just move your pinky down from the 7 to the 6, which is 13 as a minor chord. So again, that's if you want to recreate what he's doing for fun. Bar chording. A minor, 9, okay. And yeah, actually you can really see his left hand, his lifting up on the 2 and 4. That's today's session, y'all, and next week we'll talk soloing ideas. I'm going to show you just some simple phrases. I'm going to show you a few Stochelo phrases, but we're just going to do some arpeggios. E minor, A minor, and then some diminished, maybe some little scale runs. We'll just be very melodic with it, some arpeggio. What I say, simple and lyrical. I mean, to play at Stochelo's level is very, very high level, but we could get inspired by him and still get the essence of Stochelo, or maybe what would Django do? Take some minor swing licks and superimpose it on this. That's what I often love to do. Thank you all again. I'll see you next week. Have a great week. So he's using the autumn leaves chord progression for his B section. except this is Autumn Leaves, just the A section. So for the A section of this song, For Sephora, he's using the first 8 bars of minor swing, okay, as his A section, repeated twice. And then for his B section, he's using the first 8 bars of Autumn Leaves, repeated twice. And that's a great way to memorize it, assuming you already know those standard songs. But of course, this will help us for soloing. Welcome to the club here, the Tuesday Night Gypsy Jazz Bootcamp Club. Hi. Learning the melody alone is a great exercise. Just that, if you just were to learn and work on the tune and the phrasing. And I went so far this time, I don't always, but even the articulation, especially the articulation, the hammer-ons, the sliding, the pull-offs, those little trills, a la Stochelo Rosenberg, of course, you know, just those are the small things. You don't get that, the lead sheet of it. You don't, you know, that it doesn't show all that. So that's why with this, I wanted to be a little bit more specific with the articulation. Sliding, hammer-on pull-offs, when to slur, when to pull off, when to slide it, and just small things again. And even vibrato. I even wrote when he does vibrato because I think that's all so important in the gypsy jazz element. So in the style. We're going what Stochelo's doing. You can watch what Nooch is doing over here. And I'll even show you that. It's a song that I hope you all know. Who knows what song I'm going to say? Anybody recognize this song? Well, if I did it in the key of E minor, let's see. Right here, chords. E minor, A minor, B7, E minor. And that's all. He's just doing the first 8 bars of minor swing as a bossa. But in the key of E minor instead of A minor. And in the 5. But how I like to think of it is that, hey, it's just minor swing, just the first 8 bars. We got the 1 chord, we're in the key of E minor, we got the 4 chord, then we have the 5 chord, and then back to the 1, and then a quick change to the 5 to go back to the 1, and that's your A section, and it repeats 1 to the 4. So when soloing on this, which we're going to talk about next week, well, we're going to spend a lot of time soloing because it's so much fun, just like minor swing. Except we're not going to swing, we're going to play a little bit more straight, but we can still play a lot of the ideas that you already know, assuming you have some soloing ideas for minor swing, just transpose it to E minor, which is great. So that's what's happening here, 1, 4, 5, 1. And then on the second time though, the 5 of E minor is B, okay, B7. But what happens on the second time when it resolves to the 1, then that 1 becomes dominant. You'll hear me say this a lot. I know many of you are on Patreon or just in my lessons in general. When the 1 chord turns to dominant, when the 1, the tonic, the key that you're in, when that 1 turns to dominant, that's going to take you to the 4 chord. So that's what it does here. Where that 1 E minor goes to E7, and that's now going to take you to A minor. And it does. It's kind of classical theory here. The secondary dominant, the 5 of the 4. However, this is now the B section. And what happens here, A minor 7, D7, G major 7, C major 7, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7, E minor, E7. Reminds me of this song. Right? So he's using the Autumn Leaves chord progression for his B section. Except this is Autumn Leaves, just the A section. So for the A section of this song, For Sephora, he's using the first 8 bars of minor swing, okay, as his A section, repeated twice. And then for his B section, he's using the first 8 bars of Autumn Leaves, repeated twice. And that's a great way to memorize it, assuming you already know those standard songs. But of course, this will help us for soloing, because I have a lot of etudes written, well, I don't know, a lot, a few at least, for Autumn Leaves. Well, we can insert everything we've worked on with Autumn Leaves, including fancy chord voicing, scales, arpeggio. Autumn Leaves is a standard, definitely just like minor swing. It's when I teach just my private lessons and someone says, hey, I want to learn jazz, first song I give them, Autumn Leaves. Because it has all these chords. Well, I mean, it's not easy, but it's a great study because you got minor, you have dominant, you got major 7, you have minor 7 flat 5, dominant, you have 2 5 1s. That's what it is, by the way. Let's talk about this. The B section now modulates from E minor to, well, kind of it's still in E minor, but it's relative to G major as well. So it goes A minor, D7, G, and that's a 2 5 1. And just like Autumn Leaves, it goes to the 4 chord, and then that's C major 7, and then 2 5 1 back to the relative minor. Now I'll do it Gypsy Bossa. I was in my Brazilian Bossa. And I'm doing some chord shapes that are not notated here, but it's on the other video right next to it. As I click over here, you're gonna do A minor 7. These are just some really basic chord shapes. A minor 7, and it's all written above. D7, G major 7, C major 7, F sharp half dim, B7 augmented, this chord, nice and dark, to the E minor 7 or E minor triad. And then E7 like this, back to A minor. You could do D9, you could do D7 sharp 9, D7 flat 9, G major 13. You can experiment. A lot of the modern players today, they'll experiment, get quite colorful. You hear these, cool chords. So experiment with that. But however, I'd say if you're backing up somebody right now, just learn it basic. Just lock in. So again, this is the Autumn Leaves part of the song. I love it. It's just, I love sharing that information in case, for those that didn't make that connection. 2 5 1 4 in the major key of G, and then 2 5 1 to the relative minor of E minor. And of course, make it dominant here. That means we're gonna loop it. A minor, D7, G major 7, C major 7, F sharp half dim, B7, and then E minor. And notice on the B7, I'm putting a sharp 5, and that's what Noosh is doing too. Sometimes he'll add the flat 9, it'll be this. And sometimes it's just a bar chord, if you want. To the E minor or E minor 9. And that's that little figure right here, these double stops. And then this sound slice actually is the complete song. I didn't transcribe his solo. That would have taken me a little bit more than this did. But again, what we can do is to play rhythm while Stochelo Rosenberg is soloing. That's what this is for. And I'm going to get off the synthetic mode here and just go back to the video mode. And then you can see, you can click anywhere in here, push play, and turn it up. Oh, I turn off that click track, by the way. There you go. The cowbell. And again, those are the little squiggly line. That's just vibrato. He has a really unique vibrato. So, you can try to mimic his or just kind of make those notes sing. That's what's important, is let it sing. Don't just take your hand off. Try to let it really ring. It's very melodic and very lyrical. Any questions? That's the analysis of it. And then at the very end, after he solos through the form, I think he takes 2 complete choruses, and then he goes back to the melody, A, B, And it's an AAB form, by the way. And the B section, like I said, is twice, so it's 16 bars. But then they cut it short, the last 2 bars, which is very cool. And it's not everybody does this. I know I don't do it when I play it live, cut out the 2 bars, but they go right back to that intro part down here. You'd have to hear it when you check it out later, but just make a note of that for those who are playing along with this recording, and that's the best way to learn. You just play along with the greats. That's really why I'm so excited about using the sound slice and having it be synced into these recordings. This is a long session down here, so I was going to show you just at the very end here, the last part of that B section. There it is. This last part of the B section here. So they went right into that intro, that part of the intro, okay, the second half of the intro. The intro has 2 parts, but they kick right into it. They don't actually resolve the song, so they actually leave out 2 bars of the B section, which is cool as an arrangement idea. But when you're playing with others, most likely they won't do that. It's very specific to this, but it's nice to know that. Okay, guys, let's hit the melody. Let's get to it if you haven't learned it before. It's so beautiful. So let's talk about the melody vibrato. I think his vibrato is more like that. It's almost like B.B. King. Like you're playing Lucille. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Talk soloing ideas. I'm going to show you just some simple phrases. I'm going to show you a few Stochelo phrases, but we're just going to do some arpeggios. E minor, A minor, and then some diminished. Maybe some little scale runs. We'll just be very melodic with it. Welcome to this lesson today. It's for Sephora, all about soloing ideas. Let's get started. Specifically dealing with the fact that I had said last week that the A section is basically minor swing. The A section of minor swing, that is, repeated twice in a different key. Okay, so really what I'm going to be kind of talking about, a lot of ideas will come from the minor swing concept. And then the B section is like autumn leaves. Okay, I just wanted to reiterate that in case you didn't catch that. The A section to autumn leaves. So that's kind of what's going on in my head for soloing ideas, and that's what I'm going to start you off with, is just some general approaches to that concept. So we have E minor. This is, again, the simplification of it. We're in the key of E minor. We have E minor for 2 bars. We have A minor for 2 bars, the 1 chord and the 4 chord. And then we have the 5 chord for 2 bars. And then back to the 1 chord for 1 bar. And I say 1 bar, then the first time it's supposed to be the 5 chord here, the B7. The second time, I like to think of it as an E7 chord, which then pulls us to the next section. However, this is not, right now, if we were to loop this, and I'll put a repeat sign here and we can practice it this way today. So basically, I'm really going to walk you through some of my process as far as my concepts of what I would like to do to be able to solo on this song comfortably and really memorize it. But as you'll also notice, this goes right into minor swing and other gypsy jazz style songs. It's very folk-like. We have the 1 chord, minor 1. The 4, and the 5, and I'm doing the sharp 5, and then back to the 1, and then the 5. Okay. So I think the first thing that I'm going to say, and we could put on the backing track, I was version here, is just E minor blues. Do you all know your E minor blues scale? Pentatonic. Nice. So I'm going to make a note over here, E minor penta. This is a great progression, and you'll hear me, well, most of you are on Patreon, but this is one of those songs. I say, hey, yeah, turn on For Sephora and just jam out on pentatonics / blues for the whole song. Yeah, because even when I teach Autumn Leaves, often I just say, yeah, just play E minor blues or E minor pentatonic. So this is a great, it's very, soulful. You can't ignore the blues. So let me just do maybe a quick demonstration here, if you guys don't mind, on this. Let's see. I have the new version here, the backing track from last week. This is Autumn Leaf right here. It doesn't even matter where we're at. I'll turn down a little bit. But if you... bluesy phrasing, E minor blues. Not one note was not outside of the E minor blues scale, but I kind of think of it as a pentatonic scale first. I could go through my routine with you. Oh, yeah, this might not be a bad idea. This is boot camp, so let me do this now. Can I see hands? If I ask you all, can you play E minor pentatonic, E minor blues? Do you feel pretty comfortable with that? It starts. I'm going to show you. This is like playing. We're doing this. We got. That was the E minor penta, this. But the blues scale is this. And then here's A minor. B7. E minor. And that sounds great. I just did it up an octave. On the 12th fret. What I would recommend is that you work through, this is not necessary, but I think it's good practice, is to work through your positions. That's what I was going to demonstrate. And I have a YouTube video. I've got lots of YouTube videos to demonstrate a lot of these basic concepts. I don't think I need to do the screen share right now, but this. So here's E, I'm sorry, I'm just doing it really slow. Here's E minor penta. And then backwards, descending. So that's just a 5-note E minor penta. 1 flat 3, 4 5, flat 7 8. When we make it the blues scale, we add in the flat 5. And then continue. I love that blues scale, but you might just start with the pentatonic scale. So this is one of the things that I'm really big on, actually, believe it or not. It's kind of more of a rock thing, is I say go through your 5 positions of the pentatonic. This. And then this. And then. And then. And then. And then finally. I'm actually very big on that. That was something that I practice a lot and just noodle around to where I don't have to necessarily think about, what are the notes anymore. I'm not actually thinking about notes at all. These are just shapes on the guitar. As guitar players, we like to think patterns and shapes. If you said, what note are you on? I'd have to think about it. It's not even that important. All I know is that it's a pentatonic flavor. And that's what I'm going for, that classic minor pentatonic. Does it matter that we're on the 4 chord or the 5 chord or the 2/5? No, it doesn't matter. This sound is such a classic sound for kind of rock jazz fusion. Borelli Legrand. I mean, gosh, all these players use this flavor, not necessarily as their only palette, but I do want to stress how important it is to be able to do it. And so when I put on that backing track again. I'll jazz it up a little bit. So again, let's talk about the other part of it too, the palette. But please do that a lot. Are you like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know I could just play that E minor pentatonic blues scale through the whole song of For Sephora. The whole song. You could just get lost into it. I recommend that you get lost. Don't even bother following the chords. Just get lost into that sound to where you're really just making music. You'll intuitively know if you're on the B section or not, you know, and then we can work a little bit more on outlining those arpeggios. And that's the next step. That's kind of where it gets a little bit more jazzy or gypsy jazz, is when you start to outline arpeggios. So again, by the way, this can also be called G major pentatonic. Actually, if you don't know, I'm going to send you guys this worksheet. I have it all. It's all on worksheets, and it's all on Patreon, and it's all on SoundSlice. Check it out. This scale. This 3-5-7. This is tab. And that was G. I'm not starting on E. You could do this. But I'm just starting on G, actually. G major penta is equivalent to E minor pentatonic, okay? So here we go. And then the next string, 5-7. This is what I call the sliding scale, but it's kind of also the diagonal method. So that was it. Those are your 5 notes. Let's do that again. 3, 5, I'm just yelling out tab, 3, 5, 7, and the next string 5, 7. That was 1 octave. Now we go to the next G here and do the same pattern. Don't even think about it. Just follow the same pattern, but it's 5, 7, 9, 7, 9. So we had to go to the 3rd string. That was the same exact 5 notes. So far we have this. Okay, now to finish it, we're gonna put our first finger here on G and do the same thing. So it's I'm thinking intervals, 1, 2, 3, and then the next string underneath it. I'm sorry, I was yelling intervals, but our numbers, formulas, but numbers is 8, 10, 12, and then right underneath it, 10, 12. And then you could go up higher, but I'm gonna stop there. So check it out when you piece it together. I love that, and that would be all over. I guess I'm doing a blues. It's okay. A little bit faster. I'll do the For Sephora. Here we go, from the top. E minor. And you're thinking G major penta. Such a beautiful sound. But you know, that's just going up and down a scale. I kind of do more rock style. That mean, again, that's my flavor that I like to do when I'm jamming along to that backing track. Let's see, where's that backing track here? You know, not too many notes. Now I'm getting jazzy. Pentatonic. Now I might do some arpeggios. A minor, and blues. And then maybe this like. Harmonic. it up. Too much of something can be too much. You know, so have a few different soloing concepts. That's what I'm talking about today. Number one, pentatonic. Master that E minor pentatonic / blues. That's a really good go-to flavor, especially if you don't know where you're at. Then you can just do that and sound great. You know what I mean? If you're not kind of outlining the chords like a lot of players do. Okay, let's go on. The next important scale to me is the harmonic minor scale. E minor, A minor, and B7. If we played it as a scale, we get this. That's an E harmonic minor scale. Use your ear. Make sure to create the tension. And blues. Okay, to resolve it, because blues is like a feel-good, you know, resolution. Arpeggio, blues, blue, arpeggio. Welcome to this lesson today. It's for Sephora, all about soloing ideas. Let's get started. One string. It feels like I'm playing a little bit of rock guitar. Then I'll jazz it up a little bit. So again, let's talk about the other part of it too, the palette. But please do that a lot. Are you like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know I could just play that E minor pentatonic blues scale through the whole song of For Sephora. The whole song. You could just get lost into it. I recommend that you get lost. The next important scale to me is the harmonic minor scale. You know, when I teach minor swing too, I say the harmonic minor scale, and I'm going to do the white chords, E minor, A minor, and B7, collective. Oh, by the way, this is good practice for you to spell your chords. Those of you, you know, theory is important to an extent. E minor is E, G, and B. Okay? And that's this. Or this. Or this. You know, you'll learn your arpeggio shapes. You'll go, oh, E minor. Or something, you know, whatever. I mean, again, is that music? It sounds like an exercise. You know, we can make music. You know, this still kind of sounds like an exercise, but those are kind of fun to do too. The little classical style things. And that was just a sequence of the arpeggio, E minor. But these are, again, what I usually do in my boot camp exercises. A minor. Triads, B. And that was B major. And then E minor. Okay, so, but let's spell A minor. Hopefully you all can do that. A, C, and E. Ace. And then B7, let's spell all four notes for fun. B, it's a 7th chord. D sharp, that's the 3rd. F sharp. And A. A is your flat 7. And by the way, it's good to know your B7 arpeggio. This. Ready for this? That's what I always say, Pretty Woman. Because that's when I use. But this is B7. Or this. So if you need to, you know, reference that so you can hear it in your head. Here's the full arpeggio. I went. Again, you know, there's a lot of little technical things, and also, be able to do your arpeggios. I'm talking more concepts versus going through it with you. But if you need to, refer back to my worksheets for arpeggios. When we put these notes together into a scale, I'm going to start on E. We get E. We have F sharp. We have G. We have A. This is a collective scale from these 3 chords. We have B. We have a C, which is from the A minor. And then we have D sharp from the B7 chord. And then finally back to the E. If we play these notes as a scale, this is again from E minor, A minor, and B7. If we played it as a scale, we get this. That's an E harmonic minor scale. Let's just do it all on one string together. Here's an E note. One string, E, F sharp, G. Okay, that's minor. 1, 2, flat 3. 4, that's A, and B is 5. Actually, that alone, we don't know it's harmonic minor yet. That could be Dorian, that could be Aeolian, that could be melodic minor for all we know. This. But it's beautiful. It's so lyrical. It works over any of these chords. And then A minor. It works over the B7, of course. Here it is on one string, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and then flat 6, half step. And then 3 fret span. That's a D sharp, that's called the leading tone. That's what makes it harmonic minor. And then finally, very exotic, this. We love that, this span. Use your ear. Just do it with me. I'm going to yell out tabs. We're all guitar players. So again, 7 on the E note. So it's on the 5th string, it's 7th fret, 9, 10. And then on the 4th string, 7, 9, 10. And then be careful here. I'm hearing Tito, and it's 8, 9. And I would just stop there. That's 1 octave. But listen to this. Dun. So that's the leading tone, the half step below the root, and then resolve. So when you know you want that tension, you'll probably be there. And just make music. Oh, let's finish it. So you got to this E, but I'm going to start here on E now. So I'm going to go E, and the next string, 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 11, 12. And that's how I like to play it right here. Yeah, notice that leading tone. Well, I want to talk about on that leading tone now, something that you can do that's very common. I'm sure many of you already know this, but just in case you don't, that's where you play the diminished 7 arpeggio, is on that leading tone. I always say go half step below, and then do your diminished 7 arp. That is typically done on the B7 chord. You want to do that on the 5 chord, okay? So on that B7, resolve. There I did an E minor 6, or I might do E minor blues. And then check it out. Blues. And that's one of the things I love to do a lot. I love to play that diminished 7 arpeggio to create the tension. And blues. Okay, to resolve it, because blues is like a feel-good, you know, resolution. Arpeggio, blues, blue, arpeggio, minor scale. Whatever. So, but experiment with that. That's talking about 5, 1. I'll say it again. 5. That's where you do the dim right here on the D sharp, and I notice the and Stochelo goes like this. That's where he does that beat, that diminished. That's the diminished 7. Here we go, tension. And by the way, can we all do the dim 7 arpeggio together just in case? Right here, leading tone. It's the diagonal arpeggio, and again, I know that this is might be new for some of you. Please let me know. Again, I'm just getting a feel here of for everybody. So 6-9, and this diagonal 7-10. Next string 8-11, same pattern. It's symmetrical. You have to add 2 frets when you cross over to the second string. 8-10. All right, let's take that back. My math is bad. 10-13. And then finally on the first string, 11-14. I'm not really thinking about it, but let me show you guys my quick trick to learn these arpeggios diagonal. You just do this first. I use my first finger to guide myself. Once you get the first note, then you just go tritone. Tritone. It's the same 2 notes, but I'm just guiding myself as a... And then that's the skeleton, and then we add in the minor third above it. E minor. Blues. In Gypsy Jazz, I like E minor 6 arpeggio. And then this. Again, work on different resolution ideas. Do y'all know what I did there? That was a half step below E minor. I'll do it like this. That's a great ending lick. Can you all do this with me? I know I'm really high up here. So we have this. Visualize that E minor chord. And you can just go right down the bar chord. A minor, B7, I busted into the arpeggio, and then E minor. That's a nice, very, very Gypsy Jazz, very Stochelo. That's what he would do at the ending chord. He'd go like this. He'd go really fast. So again, that's a beautiful embellishment. That was just embellishing the triad. But one thing that I really love are the minor 6 arpeggios. You guys ready with this? I'm just showing you a lot of these things that I'm thinking about here. This. And this is kind of just in this position. Okay. You guys want me to break that down for you a little bit slower? You got it? That's E minor 6, not E minor 7, but E minor 6. It's a very specific color. Just like the chordal player would be doing this. E minor 6. Okay. However, I want to tell you that C sharp is not in the harmonic minor scale. It's a special flavor. So we're mixing and matching ideas. This is very important. We're playing to the chord. So that means on the A minor chord, A minor 6. I'm going to do it here. Just 1 octave. 1 octave, when I'm doing 1 octave arpeggios, I call these easy arpeggios. They're not blazing through it. And then B7, instead of doing the diminished run, I'll just do B7. And then E minor 6 right here. So can you guys do this with me here? And I'm recording this. You'll see it. But again, I want to walk you through this instead of just looking at a PDF. E minor 6. Okay. And again, maybe you're like, ooh, I gotta work on my arpeggios. 9th fret. So yeah, this is the 9th fret. What's important is that you know E minor triad, like this. And then here's a 6. You gotta get that 6 in for Gypsy Jazz. So E minor 6, A minor 6, B7, E minor blues.